Lively's publicist Leslie Sloan is now asking to be removed from the lawsuit. Leslie Sloan, who is Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's publicist, is now asking to be removed from the $400 million lawsuit Baldoni filed in January. Attorney McCauley filed a motion to dismiss in New York federal court today, February 20th, asking the court to remove her client Sloan and Sloan's firm, Vision PR, from Baldoni and Wayfair's countersuit and cover their legal fees. They were dragged into the legal battle as a smoke and mirrors exercise to distract from Lively's accusations of SH in retaliation, filing alleges, arguing there's no basis for accusing Sloan of planting malicious stories or launching a smear campaign. And as for the extortion claims, Sloan's attorneys say that Baldoni's lawyers do not identify where or how the alleged extortion occurred or how she received anything of value because of that extortion. Sloan's attorneys go on to say Baldoni's allegations about the creative issues are irrelevant and tellingly sexist because Miss Lively, an executive producer on the film, dared to offer input on the script, wardrobe, and editing. Baldoni blasts her as tyrannical and aggressive. I'm sorry, but that does not make him sexist. All this tells me is that Leslie is afraid of being subpoenaed, and if she was not involved in any smear campaign, she shouldn't be afraid to be subpoenaed. Discovery should reveal if she was involved or if she wasn't. Her wanting to back out now, what is she afraid of?
Blake Lively really thought she was going to be Amber Heard in 2016, and everybody was just going to go along with everything that she said, and everything was going to be just like Amber did to Johnny. The only difference is it's 2025. It's not 2016 anymore. And as a matter of fact, I would go along with her. In 2016, if Blake Lively had done this, I think Justin Baldoni would be screwed. But in 2025, no. As a matter of fact, Amber Heard killed the whole thing. She really did kill Me Too. So the fact that Blake Lively is trying to use the exact same playbook as Amber Heard in 2016 just shows you that she wasn't prepared for what this could be. She's been exposed. Everybody can see that she lied, and all she was counting on was everyone just going along with it as if it was Amber Heard circa 2016.
Not just us talking about fake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Sources are saying the celebs were gossiping all night as well. 3 sources told TMZ that many celebs were confused as to why Blake and Ryan showed up, and that many people avoided them throughout the night. A source even heard someone say who told them to come. So this was odd behavior even for Hollywood. They were allegedly the center of attention, which isn't a great look because this event is not about you at all. Also, I do hate to say, but I loved her dress. And be sure to follow me for more trending pop culture news.
Skimming the Blake Lively complaint, the amended complaint, and here's my thoughts as a whole. Pretty much a big nothing burger. I didn't get any new receipts, any new proof in here that looked like it was going to move the needle. In my opinion, still my opinion, everything's alleged. Instead, she just added in text messages, but most of the time when she was adding them in, or emails, she would just add in a quote from them that was out of context, out of place. You weren't looking at the actual message. You weren't looking at what they were responding to. You weren't yeah. There was one where Justin allegedly had said, I understand your concerns, they're being addressed, yada, yada, yada. You have no idea what he's referencing because A, he doesn't tell you. He's just I hear your concerns, they're valid, yada, whatever he says. But they just quote it. I'm not actually even seeing the email. I don't know what he's responded to. And then they talk about HR complaints. Okay, then provide me the HR complaints, please. The emails. Where's the emails? Where is it? And it felt like there was a lot of fluff, we were adding in emotion. And then she adds in a bunch of X posts and stuff like that were, negative comments towards her, which she's very famous. People online are going to write things about you. And in addition, in August, she had a movie coming out. So that means there's more spotlight on you. And then people were uncovering bad interviews. I don't know if Justin was pushing those bad interviews. Maybe he was. But even still, they could have very well been organic, right? We can't tell this far. But what she's done is she's taken these X posts and they say how many views they have. And most of them have not very many views. This could just be random people that don't like you. You are very famous. And then she mentions having the intimacy coordinator's phone number and having a phone call with her. And then I'm okay, well, if you had all these issues, you had the person's number, Why wouldn't, did you call her? Did you say, I don't like the improvising, etc.? I heard you wanted to add this scene. I don't like it. And then she goes off about how she's not okay adding scenes. It's not in her contract. And first of all, I'm like, what contract? Because I have heard rumors that there wasn't a contract. Or not, that's part of the allegation in Justin's complaint, is that she never signed her main actor agreement, or didn't sign it for a very long period of time. And some other engagement agreement too. So I'm like, okay, well, where's the provisions of the contract was executed? And you could say that the contract was enforced because of performance. Like, there's other ways around that. Like, but again, questionable. I'm like, why are we operating without a fully executed contract? Besides me, like, really beside myself on that one. But she's saying, like, oh, you can't add things to the movie, you can't rewrite. But then she's saying she rewrote, but then she's saying her husband rewrote it. And then there's also allegations that she was improvising some of the intimacy, so he thought it was okay. Like, I don't know. And then the text messages she does add with this woman, Ange, where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm concerned for you. So I'm so sad to hear that, or whatever she says, right? That's kind of just like women speak. Like, when somebody says something to you, and you're like, oh, I'm really sorry that happened to you. You know, are you okay? That isn't actually evidence of the event. And again, there's not enough context even in there to figure out what they're actually talking about. I did think it was interesting that she added civil conspiracy. She's trying to paint her narrative, but I really didn't see much added proof or like true receipts that I wanted to see to paint something. Like, if you had attached HR complaints, this would be a different story. If she had attached the actual emails where Justin's responding to somebody's concerns, because I don't know what the concern is. And then littered throughout this, they're like just taking quotes that Justin said from like his TED Talk about women, like, and being a feminist and supporting women, and like they're trying to use that to like paint like, wow, look, like he's really a like wolf in sheep's clothing. And I'm like, that's just not really germane at this point, at least. But the whole way she goes about adding in some of the new text messages, not all of them, and emails without providing like screenshots is weird, because in other areas she is providing screenshots. So then there's some portions where she just takes whatever language she wants to take from it. You don't know what she's responding to, or whomever sent it is like, you don't know any of the other correspondence. You just see this little bit that they've typed out in quotations. And it's like, it's such a discrepancy, because there's some areas where they do provide screenshots, but then it's like, well, why didn't you want to provide a screenshot here? Sus. Honestly, my head's spinning, because it just feels like, what did I just...
Blake Lively has just filed her newest lawsuit, and I have to be honest with you guys, after reading it, I am more disappointed today than I was on August 16th, 2009, when I realized I wasn't really getting a letter for Hogwarts. And I think at this point, I should also probably sue Blake for printer fees in addition to silencing me. But regardless, there is still a lot to get through, so let's do this again. So let's quickly start with SNL, because I didn't get a chance to tell you guys my opinion on what happened. In my opinion, I believe that Ryan Reynolds begged Blake Lively to go as part of their ongoing scheme to sort of assert dominance and show we're not backing down, we're innocent, and whatnot. And I think in order to do that, I think that he intentionally misled his wife and told her that the joke was just going to be basically where they just ignored what was happening. He was going to say the part about the question. He was going to be one small part of the skit where everybody in the audience was asking questions, and that was it. I think he probably explicitly promised her that there would be no direct acknowledgement of actually what was happening. And I think her face, in my opinion, I don't think she's that good of an actress. What I saw in her face when he said, "Why? What have you heard?" I saw complete betrayal. I saw complete shock. And I saw her mask drop, which sometimes happens when you take a drug called beta blockers. You're very calm, and you sometimes will act in a way almost like you're drunk, like you're not thinking about being perceived because your nerves are gone. And I think that's what we saw. And this has now been substantiated by the guy who holds the cue cards. He's confirmed that this joke was later added in by Reynolds. So that's basically what I believe happened. And I think that he really has damaged his case as a result of that. Sure, it was good for SNL and their ratings, but that's just what I think happened. So the first major change that I noticed with this lawsuit is the legal team has really attempted to improve the narrative structure of it. So it begins with a quote from Justin Baldoni that they pulled from one of his TED Talks where he's talking about being a feminist and listening to women. And there are several quotes from Justin Baldoni woven throughout the lawsuit in an attempt to present the idea that there is a discrepancy between the Justin Baldoni that he presents himself as publicly and who he really is privately. So the theme of him being a hypocrite is heavily woven throughout this entire lawsuit. They then don't name names, but they heavily imply that Jenny Slate is receiving violent threats, and then later on the next page use this as an explanation as to why they will not be including any screenshots or naming any witnesses for fear of them becoming compromised or becoming victims of potential violence and further online harassment. But I can think of another reason why they're not really including screenshots. So in addition to the 42 spelling and grammatical errors that I thought were completely unacceptable, I also found something that made me laugh on page 4, which is Lively's legal team thought this was a gotcha, where they quote Baldoni's legal team saying that they confess that Lively is the kind of person who genuinely believes she's right and that all of this is unjust. I find that very strange because I don't think anyone believes that Blake Lively goes home at night saying, "Mwahaha, I'm gonna fabricate sexual harassment stories so I can take over the movie, mwahaha," and then her and Ryan Reynolds are like evil laughing into a crystal ball, like a Disney movie. Or maybe they are that crazy. I've never met them. But most shitty people, most narcissists believe that they're right. That's what makes them narcissists, is the lack of self-awareness. So I just find it funny that they inserted that quote thinking it was some kind of a gotcha. So I noticed many inconsistencies when reviewing this document. One of the first being on page 4, where Lively on May 24th allegedly messages someone that people believe was Liz Plank, but we have no confirmation of that, complaining about what was happening on set. But I remember from Baldoni's lawsuit on May 23rd, she actually messaged him praising him, so I found that to be a little bit inconsistent. But the most glaring lie that I got from all of this that I think will 100% be included in court is on page 6, when Lively's lawyers feel so strongly that they actually bolded this part. And they said that none of the requested protections were tied in any way to Miss Lively's creative input in the film and were made months before any discussions happened about her making a cut of the film. So they make it very clear that this return to work document, if you guys remember, before she returned to work after the strike, she put together this list of 17 demands that happened after this infamous meeting where Ryan Reynolds yelled at Justin Baldoni. They're saying it had nothing to do with creative input. Well, let's go back to her original complaint, okay? Let's see what they said here. So don't know if you can see, I circled it 3 times where the word creative issues was mentioned. So it says, she wants to oversee the schedule, logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. She wants to have an experienced producer added on to the original one who oversees logistics and creative issues. Point number 13. She wants someone over here, on set with overseeing the schedule, logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. Creative issues, creative issues, creative issues. You mentioned the words creative issues 3 times, and then in your newest lawsuit, you said that in bold, there was absolutely no discussion that this was purely about sexual harassment. Then why is the word creative mentioned 3 times? Obviously, that was an aspect of it. So I just don't appreciate being bold-faced lied to. And yeah, that's the definition of gaslighting. It was explicitly mentioned 3 times. And I think that is a huge mistake on the part of her legal team to say something that's just so explicitly false. So in other words, the stipulations that were needed to be met for her to return to work were not just about sexual harassment, they were also about creative issues, because that's what was literally written in the document from your own lawsuit. But I guess at this point, I shouldn't be surprised that Lively's legal team so explicitly lies about things that we have in writing, because it's exactly what they did with the subpoenas. They tried to subpoena every single text message, and then when Baldoni's legal team complained about it, they told Judge Lehman, oh, no, we are not asking for all the text messages. Yes, you did. I read the subpoenas myself, and I don't appreciate it when I read something with my own eyes and someone says that it's not true. So then after saying they're not going to name anybody in this lawsuit because it's so dangerous, they go on to specifically name someone named Angie Giannetti, who was overseeing the distribution of the film at Sony, who was the distributor. So I just found it very suspicious that this was one of the few people that they named. I'd be very curious to know if there's some kind of personal relationship with the Reynolds family, because I can't think of another reason as to why this was the only person willing to put her name on the homework and say, yes, I'll come forward as well. So I also noticed that her lawyers modified their language from the original complaint to the new complaint, where they said that the smear campaign was actually a substantial factor of damages, not the main factor contributing to everything. So in other words, her legal team is now admitting that the outrage against her was at least partially organic, whereas before they thought it was fully just online bots. Well, I myself posted a video in August, and I assure you, I'm a real person with my own thoughts, and I posted that, and I'm not a robot. Something else that actually stunned me is that on page 17, Lively's legal team actually included screenshots from Baldoni's PR representatives, where they basically admit that it's not a smear campaign and that Lively effed herself over by doing the unfollow thing and not taking any photos together, which is true. Had Baldoni just gone to the premiere, I don't think any of this would have ever happened. They also include, once again, an alleged interaction between Blake and Justin, where Justin told her, "I'm not even attracted to you." If that really happened, I think that may have been the real moment that Blake felt she had to burn everything to the ground, because I don't think she has ever heard those words in her entire life and would likely take great offense to it. A part of this lawsuit that absolutely made me laugh out loud was apparently Justin Baldoni said he could speak to the dead, and he spoke to Blake Lively's dead father, and then trying to deflect with humor because she felt uncomfortable, she told him, "Let him know he owes me $40. Baldoni responds and says, "Wait, does he really?" Miss Lively, shocked, says, "Oh God, no, he owes me so much more than that." Baldoni then closed his eyes, put his hand on his heart, and said, "I was leaving my apartment this morning and I reached into my pocket and there was $40 in there I did not put there." Miss Lively was deeply disturbed by this. I believe this is the first thing that Blake said that I do believe happened. So a new and very bizarre claim that I hadn't seen before is they're actually accusing Justin Baldoni of secretly recording Blake Lively and Jenny Slate on one occasion. Can someone explain to me why Justin Baldoni would need to secretly record two people of whom he has hours and hours worth of footage of them from set? And then the other reason I found this very weird is that in 2017, Blake Lively actually accused a makeup artist of secretly filming her and got him fired. And I haven't been able to track down who this guy is, but could Blake just think people are secretly recording her when they're like on the phone? And she's like, "They're definitely taking pictures of me." One of the dumbest aspects of this lawsuit is they explicitly cite her inability to attend SNL's 50th anniversary because of her emotional state as core foundational proof that she's experienced these damages. Meanwhile, the night before this lawsuit was filed, she actually attended SNL. So anyone telling you that was a genius move on their part is completely wrong. They fully just undermined their legal case, and it will be brought up in court. Predictably, they also doubled down on their claims that that slow dancing scene we all saw was an act of sexual harassment where Baldoni was acting out of character. But because I actually read the book, I noticed on page 221, Ryle actually does the exact thing that Justin Baldoni did in character in that scene. It says, "Ryle put his thumb under my chin and tilts my face up to his." So that's why you read books, kids. And lastly, she includes several screenshots of people calling her the C word, which I obviously don't approve of. But it does not prove that there's a smear campaign. Correlation does not equal causation, as we know. And I mean, I've experienced horrific comments, death threats, everything, and I don't have a Tribeca penthouse, and I don't get paid for this, so I just suffer for free.
Can we all just agree that Brian Friedman is like the true daddy of this whole case? But Brian Friedman, who is Justin Baldoni's lawyer, came out with a statement today basically saying the same thing that we've all been saying, which is Blake's amended complaint is underwhelming and there's a lack of evidence. FYI, this is from People magazine. This is a statement from Brian Friedman. Her underwhelming amended complaint is filed with unsubstantial hearsay of unnamed persons who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. Friedman said, adding that his clients have been transparent in providing receipts, real-time documents, and videos showing a completely different story than what has been manipulated and cherry-picked to the media. Since documents do not lie and people do, boom, the upcoming depositions of those who initially supported Miss Lively's false claims and those who are witnesses to her own behavior will be enlightening, Friedman added. What is truly uncomfortable here is Miss Lively's lack of actual evidence. The article also mentions, according to Lively's amended complaint, her legal team chose not to name certain witnesses in order to protect innocent bystanders, rather than exposing them to further harm amid the dangerous climate of threats, harassment, and intimidation surrounding the case, the complaint reads. However, the witnesses gave Lively permission to share the substance of their communications, the complaint says, and agreed they will testify and produce responsive documents in the discovery process. Allegedly, these people are willing to testify in court, but like I've been saying with this entire thing, I will believe it when I see it, and real evidence is
produced. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I think Brian Friedman might just be my new celeb crush. I mean, like, he's really just killing it.
Blake Lively characterizes that dancing montage in her amended complaint. The video footage of the scene shows Miss Lively to be trapped, having to appear as though her character was happy and in love while the cameras were rolling. Ma'am, do you mean acting? What you have just described is being an actor who is in the act of acting. You do not need to be Meryl Streep to understand that between the time they say action and cut, you're meant to be acting. The complaint continues, stating Miss Lively did not want to film additional takes on the scene, but continued to participate to be a team player and support the production in real time while simultaneously expressing and holding physical boundaries against Mr. Baldoni's advances. And I'm no thespian. I'm not an actor, but what I do know is multiple takes are normal. Two CBAs trying to figure out how to wrap up the fiscal year. They're two actors that are supposed to act like they're in love. Let's watch this together, okay?
They win!
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up. And Emily and I we have these moments where
staring. You just stare.
Literally we've done it for like 5 minutes. it's like, I think you would find it terrifying. We just literally look at each other and like
when
time.
I found a sociopath.
And like time stops.
Yeah.
But like that's just how it's been for us from the beginning.
No, we're like, oh my god, there's not enough time.
Oh.
And they score again.
No. It's like, oh my god, I forgot to tell you something else.
No, I think that's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than.
Of course, she didn't mention this in her claim because that would be stupid. But throughout this entire scene, that man stays bringing up his wife, her husband. While you two are supposed to be acting like you are falling in love, canoodling, he keeps bringing up your spouses, probably to make you comfortable, complimenting your relationship with Ryan. We're meant to believe what we're watching is a woman held hostage.
Blake Lively's PR team wants us to know that everything that's happening right now, it's hurting Blake's feelings. And I don't know if you guys have paused to consider that Blake's feelings might be getting hurt in all of this. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Check out this headline in Daily Mail. Blake Lively sources say Justin Baldoni lawsuit is causing her and Ryan Reynolds severe anguish. They are anguished by the things that they did being found out by the public. In that article, we're told that Blake Lively is, quote unquote, emotionally zapped by her spate of lawsuits with Justin Baldoni, but she remains confident nonetheless that she will ultimately prevail, okay?
Friend and I, when we were in 10th grade, we had like crazy crushes. We would drive around, like stalk these guys. We decided one night to go to the arcade where they were, and I put bronzer all over myself in a Scary Spice fro, so I thought they would think I was like a black girl, and so I could stalk them. My friend
Bethany Frankel posted a video today in response to the backlash she was getting for saying that SNL, it was a brilliant move, the whole Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds SNL appearance. And she said in that video that sorry, not sorry, but they don't care about you guys. You guys have tried to cancel celebrities before and it hasn't gone anywhere. So they don't care. They know they've lost you. And what they're trying to do with that appearance was to signal to other industry people that they're still here and they still have pull. I left a comment on that video saying something like, well, what good is still being here if they don't have any value to the industry people? Like if the consumer is not buying the package that is them, what's the value? If their association with a project doesn't bring in money, what's the value? Surely the industry has to care about whether or not we're buying. But in case she's right and they don't care, and they probably don't, who knows, I don't know. In case she's right, I wanted to share that video of Blake Lively, because if the industry doesn't care about what they've done here and what we all think of it, maybe they'll care that potentially there's a racial thing going on here too. I did not address any of this in my last videos. There's a lot of people in the comments saying Blake and Ryan are racist. They got married on a plantation. And the reason I don't touch on that is because while gross and egregious, it's neither here nor there when we're talking about what's happening here with these complaints and lawsuits and all of that. I don't want to detract from the point of of just the facts, like the facts that are relevant to the case. Because once you start bringing your personal opinions into it, then, you know, you don't really have credibility, because then it's just like, oh, you just don't like them. You're just going this hard because you think they're racist. So I don't touch on that. Like, are they probably shitty people? I've learned through this process, they probably are. I used to like their stuff. I used to watch everything they were in, even though they both just wore themselves in every fucking movie. Whatever. It was usually a light watch. But anyway, regarding the racist thing, so they got married on a plantation. The people that are defending it are like, oh, they just like the venue. Why does it have to mean anything? It's whatever. Well, watch that video I played again. She is describing how she wants to be able to freely stalk some guys, and the best way she could think of to not be detected was to dress up as a black girl. She painted her body brown or black and put on a Scary Spice afro wig, hoping the guys would just think she's a black girl. What does that mean? So that I could stalk them. I was hoping they'd think I was a black girl so I could stalk them. Meaning, no guy that I'm interested in is going to look at a black girl. Best disguise. Does it prove anything? I don't know. Does it? It's just information. Was she young? Maybe. People have been canceled for old tweets. So if Bethany's right, and the industry and they don't care about what we think about this lawsuit, about what they've done, maybe they'll care about
Good morning. These are all the reasons why I think Blake Lively's HR complaints are complete and utter bullshit. One, why are the dates redacted? You would think you want the dates because she has dates in her lawsuit. If the HR complaints line up with the lawsuit, that's a smoking gun. Two, they read like Ryan Reynolds wrote them. They read like what he thinks an HR complaint would look like. Three, the top email was from Sony. So it's Sony's HR department, according to these emails. Sony is on the record as saying that they never received HR complaints. Not once. And also, if Sony did receive these HR complaints and then said, according to Blake Lively's lawsuit, kick him down the road to Wayfair, why are you then not suing Sony as well? Because if Sony got these HR complaints and did nothing, why are they not a party to your lawsuit? In the second complaint, one of the actresses that these supposedly is about complained that Baldoni was touching her inappropriately and whispering like really creepy things in her ear. And he retorted with like, don't worry, I don't think you're hot. I'm attracted to my wife or something like that, which is almost verbatim what Blake Lively said he said to her. And it's just weird he'd be saying that to multiple women. But also that she was like, he was like, if you're so creeped out, like report it to HR. And she was like, I will. And then 3 hours later, it was fixed. My brother's worked in HR for 10 years. When it comes to an SH complaint, it's not going to take 3 hours. It's going to take days, weeks. You're going to interview every single person who was on that set. You're going to interview the victim. You're going to interview the harasser. You're going to get every single fact in line. And then you're going to come up with a resolution and like findings. And you're going to present them. Like it's a whole thing because you need to make sure every single thing is checked and like T's are crossed and everything. Because if you don't do it correctly, you can get sued in that alone. The 3 hour window, bullshit. Because how you deal with it can get you sued. So you want to make sure it's as thorough as possible, especially with an SH complaint. And HR complaints are extremely confidential. Like they are highly confidential. It's almost like a HIPAA violation to release those. So the fact that like they're just willy-nilly out there, every single actress that those complaints address would have to give legal permission for them to be leaked or used in a lawsuit. And they would also have to be a party to that lawsuit. And finally, if TMZ, Daily Mail, like the New York Post, Page 6, they're all being like, nah, they're not real. They're not real. TMZ would eat that shit up. Daily Mail, that'd be on the front page. That'd be like the #1 headline. If they're not picking it up, that shit ain't real.